I might be live. Oh, I'm finally live. It's always tricky because I stream to 4 different places simultaneously, and they don't all go live at the same time, and I'm like, some people are watching me bounce around, and some people are are just not seeing anything yet. But here we are. It's Lunch with Mel. It is a decent way through January already. Kinda wild, right? That we're on the 22nd. Um, this was like I remember last January was kind of a fever dream because I had some pretty serious surgery, and then everybody in the house got sick. And like the latter half of January last year was just all of us just playing video games and barely remembering how each day passed. Hey, Monique, nice to see you here. So yeah, this week we kicked off our latest Facebook ads class called Fluent with Facebook Ads, and it's kind of cool already. I'm doing a deeper dive into areas I don't normally go into, and I think people were really getting a lot out of that, which was really cool. And we're doing spending a little bit less time on creative and more time on analyzing, although it's going to bleed back into then changing creative based on analysis is a big thing that I'm going to be doing, so that'll be enjoyable too. I'm also like really dressed cozy today. I have like a wrap, I've got a big fuzzy blanket, and I'm wearing like a fleece lined cat suit because it's minus 28 Celsius, which is about minus what, like 19, 20 Fahrenheit. It is cold outside. I went outside to shovel the walk this morning, and it's like the air was like trying to murder my face like immediately. It was nuts. Hey Dennis, how you doing? And anybody else here? Sound off, say hi. Always happy to have you. So it's been a pretty decent January ads wise. Last year was kind of flaky, but this year's actually behaving a lot more like I expected. With one exception that some ads have gotten more expensive in the latter half of January. Usually ad prices fall throughout January, but in some scenarios they seem to be leveling off or even climbing a bit. Mostly that's with image ads. I'm seeing still image ads, or sorry, real ads, I mean, are actually continuing to go down. I'm seeing a lot of people running real ads now for, in some cases, as low as like 4 cents a click and still getting decent conversions on them. So, and if you can get like half the conversion on a 5 cent per click reel that you're getting on like a 14, 15 cent image, that means the reel is actually working better, even though it's converting half as well. So, super cool to see that for some people. It's not across the board, but it is a trend that I'm spotting that's happening for sure. And hey, Barbara, and hi, Jason. It's working. What's working? I don't know what's working. Just the video in general. Um, Monique says it's 20 Fahrenheit here. Going for morning walks is looking less attractive. Yeah, it's 40 degrees colder here than it is there, Monique. Which is funny because I think Poland is actually like a little bit further north than where we are right now in Canada. I could be wrong. It's just sometimes it's surprising how much further north much of Europe is, and I'm pretty sure Poland's up there. Um, so yeah, so I'm curious as well. Oh, I'm sorry, Jason. Yes, that's right. I do have that there. Sometimes Facebook kind of flakes out, so it's actually just a pinned comment that's always there. Um, yeah, it's that. Wow, that's even colder there than it is here, Jason. Wow. Um, we actually tend where I live in Canada, we tend to miss the Arctic, what do they call them? Arctic vortexes or polar vortexes or whatever. They tend to go a little bit further east of where we are. So it's actually kind of rare for us to get it this cold as well. Um, Oof, that's no fun, Monique. Winter, right? Like, what the heck? I mean, it could be worse. We could all be in Australia right now. I have one of my readers is in Australia, and his AC's been broken um, for a week now, actually, and the temperatures are getting up to 40 where he is in the day a lot. And what is 40 in Fahrenheit? Da, da, da. It's 104. So, not like ridiculously hot, not like not talking like plus 120 Fahrenheit, but pretty toasty. Barbara says, for a real ad, does that mean we need to make a video ad? Is there an optimal length? Yeah, so real ad does mean video. Facebook has actually gotten rid of all of the separate video feeds on their platform now, so they only do reels. Um, you can still do like old style landscape videos, but they're not going to show up on the real feed, and there's no dedicated feed for them anymore. There used to be like a dedicated feed on Facebook where you could just watch these sort of like almost like YouTube esque longer form videos that they were trying to push, but they've kind of gotten rid of that and now just push the reels feeds, and any sort of like landscape videos just show up on the regular Facebook feed now only. So yeah, if you want stuff to get broad visibility on meta platforms and it's in video, it's going to have to be in the real format, which is 9 by 16 as opposed to 16 by 9 for like the video you're watching right now. Um, and the optimal length is varies. You need your reel needs to do a couple of different things. It needs to grab people's attention within 3 seconds. So text, whatever text your reel starts with, needs to be fully readable in 3 seconds. If it's longer than something what someone can read in 3 seconds, you're already going to lose like a certain percentage of people. So that doesn't mean you can only put short bits of text in there, but you need something that's readable within 3 seconds that will grab people's attention and then have the text change to something else. So if you can have something quick and snappy that grabs their attention, then your second segment of your video can actually have some longer text that you can get away with. So you have to have that. The 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 hook for your video, the thing that's really grabbing people, needs to happen before the 10-second mark. So if you've got like a super clever idea for your reel that's going to take like 30 or 40 seconds to do, you can do it, but boy, you've got to have a really strong hook within the first 10 seconds. So the first 3 seconds is to keep them watching, and by the 10-second mark, you need to have either made your pitch or you need to have something very enticing that will keep them going. Um, and usually things that spark curiosity or outrage are kind of your two big things. Outrage on behalf of your characters, of course. Um, we're not doing political videos here. And then I generally like to actually wrap the reel up around like 15 at the 15-second mark. But usually the last 3 or 4 seconds are just like the book cover and some sort of call to action that I'm showing. And if you're in our Fluent with for Facebook ads class, um, we'll be talking about that on Monday. Let's see. Monique says she'll take that all day, but I'm not sure what that actually is. That you're sure that you're interested in. It's the heat. It's the Australian heat. I caught up. Yeah. I went back to where I was. Yeah. Over what we're feeling right now, I would too. Absolutely. Although we don't have air conditioning in this house either. I mean, there's an air conditioner, it just doesn't work. Um, Jason said, I'm not a writing wife, but I saw Mal on live. Want to say hi. I didn't know the show name. I'm a writing husband. Well, you don't have to be a writing wife, Jason. Jill and I are the writing wives. You can be you don't have to be if you don't have to be a wife. It's a description of us, not of you. You can absolutely be a writing husband and hang out. That is a-okay. Um, so yeah, so videos are definitely the way to go for a lot of purposes on Facebook. And the main one is that you can get them to run so cheap. The other really cool thing too is that we all know like it takes multiple exposures for someone to decide to click on your product. The sort of rule of thumb that's been going around forever is about 7 exposures. I don't know if that tracks in recent years. I haven't seen any studies in the last couple of years. Not to say there haven't been. I just haven't looked at any studies in the last couple of years, but it's probably still in that 5 to 7 range that's been for eons for how many times someone needs to see your product to go for it, to decide they want to take the plunge. And the reason why it takes multiple instances is people we're a little bit skeptical, right? When we see things advertised, we're skeptical about quality. We're skeptical about whether or not it's the real thing. We're skeptical about whether or not it's going to be around long enough to invest our time, money, energy into. And some of that matters more like, I don't know, if you're going to buy like a new blender, right? You want to make sure it's a good company that's not just going to disappear tomorrow and have no actual functional warranty or anything like that. But that sort of like belief structure flows into how we look at all products, right? So we we connect longevity with quality because we figure if something's around for a long time, that means it must be high enough quality to not have had people try to just destroy this company for being terrible, Or we figure, okay, this thing's been around for a long time and I haven't heard like people saying it's a ripoff, so it's probably okay, you know. Um, hey Eric, um, yeah, just Eric. So, that applies in a way a little bit less to books, although I think it kind of does make sense. Like if you're an author and you can advertise your books day in, day out for a decade, then that suggests that you're, selling some books and that longevity does imply quality. So I think it's like not an unfair assessment that people make. And so but I think that's a big part of like what drives that rough number of 7 impressions before someone decides to engage with you. And it does sort of, I think, also matter. Like if they saw you 7 times within 2 days, they might just be annoyed and be like, "Why are you flooding me?" But if they see you 7 times over the course of a month, that's different. Then they're kind of like, "Oh, I've seen this before," and there's like some psychology to it, or maybe actually it's neurology, where you're pulling the memory out of long-term memory versus short-term memory, and that also affects the way that we see things and feel about things. So, um, all of that to come around and say that even if video ads don't like perform exceptionally well, they're great at priming those initial impressions for significantly less money than an image ad. Even if image ads convert better, a lot of times we see that ads convert better on the back of a lot of video ads that are running at a lower cost and priming people. Eric says, my lead ad is back in training, it seems. I got 20 signups before it went back into that phase. Does it say learning on the ad itself? That's kind of interesting. Usually they don't go back in if they're getting conversions. How much was it costing per complete registration or per lead, whichever one you set that up as? Um, Jason says, I've had books that I really wanted to listen to, and it took dozens and dozens of times to actually get me to pick them up because my TBR is so huge now. That is a risk, right? Like as your TBR gets bigger, there is sort of like, and this is like an individual thing that you can't really predict from advertising, but there's like an added mental load involved in picking up more books as well. Um, Not sure why, but lately I've seen 2 people, one from Author Nation, recommending we lean into the Facebook AI process for advertising books. I'm still skeptical. Well, every aspect of Facebook advertising leans into the AI stuff now. You can't really get away from it, Tim. It's part of the entire ad picking system is all AI powered. But were they suggesting something specific like Advantage Plus audiences or placements or something like that? Because Advantage Plus audiences is fully AI for audience picking, but you can still use the original system, or click the button that says further limit your ads depending on the kind of ad you're running. And that does use a bit of the older system, but you're always using Advantage Plus detailed targeting, which means at a certain point, Facebook ignores what you put in for the interests and just does what they want. So I'm curious which one people are recommending, like what they're suggesting. And there also is, you know, in the AI stuff, there's the creative enhancements too, which is a whole separate thing from the audience side of things. And it says, I watched The Princess Bride last week and got inspired to write cozy, humorous fantasy, but it's a brand new genre for me. So I'm learning the ropes and having so much fun. That's what Jill's doing right now. She's writing cozy, humorous fantasy. That's what her Kickstarter is. Actually, I haven't checked her Kickstarter today. I'm kind of curious how well it's doing. Let's find out. I'm not sure if she wants me to say on the call though. Oh, I'm in the wrong browser. Need to go find the right browser. Hold, please. I followed it, so it should be fine once I log in. Once I come to something that I'm actually logged into. Dun dun dun. For those of you who don't know, so Jill's running a Kickstarter called Dungeons and Donuts, and it is in cozy fantasy, and it's her pen name. Jill cannot be pinned down, so her pen name writes everything. The last thing she released under this pen name was YA horror. This is the first time she's released anything like this under this pen name, and she's got halfway through her Kickstarter, and she's at just shy of $13,000 pledged. So I think it's a super cool thing to get into. And there definitely seems to be an audience. First release from an author who's never released anything in this genre under a pen name that's primed for other things, and she's doing quite well. Um, so I'm all for it, Dennis. Eric says, "I'm actually quite good, at making reels now after making them for 5051." What's 50 I don't know what's 50501? It says learning, okay. You said training before, so I'm like, "Is this a new status that they're giving?" What okay, down here says 30 35 conversion. That's weird. So it was getting 30 to 35 cents per conversion, and then it automatically went back into learning? That's bizarre. Unless Unless you were spending really low, because you do need about 10 to 20 conversions a day on ads for them to be out of learning mode. And if your spend is like $3 a day, then maybe you aren't going to get 10 to 20 conversions a day, and you could kick back into learning mode because there just isn't enough data to come out of that. So that maybe that's what's happened. Kate says, I've run a video ad in a while. My AA was low on them, but I like the idea of them priming image ads. Yeah. What is AA? Why I feel like I should know what AA is. I can't come up with what AA is. Kate, I should know, but it's, like, escaping me. Dun, dun. Yeah, that so Advantage Plus audiences so I should whenever I run ads for a client, I actually always test Advantage Plus and non-Advantage Plus side by side. And sometimes I'll also test landing page and non-landing page. So it could be the exact same ad, exact same audience setup, but one of them's Advantage Plus, one of them's original, and then there's also a duplicate of each that's landing page and link click for optimization. And it's like anybody's guess which one's going to win. Quite honestly, like there's no guarantee. But the other thing, but worth noting though, is that no matter what you do, eventually you're doing Advantage Plus. Facebook will wander away from what you put in and pick what they want, no matter what. However, I feel like giving Facebook something to start with, saying like, "Hey, here's who I think my audience is," can help your ad get out of learning faster. My experience, ads where people put in nothing for the detailed interests can take twice as long to actually find their audience. It is getting better because sometimes it used to be absolutely. I mean, still sometimes it's absolutely never that the ad finds its audience, but the frequency of that is decreasing. Um, where was I going with this? Come on, brain, catch up to me. But I test them all because each one can work. Oh yeah, niches and genre. That's what I wanted to get to. The more niche you are, the more you are likely to actually need to put something in there to give Facebook a kickstart. If you're like writing mainstream thriller, mainstream romance, then you can much more easily get away with putting nothing in there because you have a bigger audience. Facebook's more likely to hit one of your readers with that ad than if you're writing, I don't know, intersexual, queer, biracial, I don't know, beachcombing novels or something like that, right? Um, so so Facebook will take a lot longer to learn who your audience is with something super niche, and then you'll need to you're better off giving it something to start with. So it depends tremendously on what's being advertised, which is always one of the tricky things. People give out like super generic advice. Sometimes they don't realize that it's not as generic as they thought it was, because their experience might be narrower, and they might not realize that it doesn't work in certain genres, or with certain audience sizes. So that's why I'm like test, test, test. I always test because every book, every cover, every blurb, every title, every audience, author, the confluence of these things is different for every single title. No one book will ever work exactly like another book. So it's all like having an array of options and things to try out to find the ones that work best. And then to accept the fact that, of course, whatever worked best 6 months ago may not work best now. And what flopped 6 months ago could be the thing that works now. So keeping in mind all of the options that we have so that we can roll back to old ones that didn't work in the past or try new ones we haven't tried yet because it's an ever shifting landscape. Um, Barbara says for reels, are there trends for what's in the background behind the text, such as a video versus an image? Both of those work. There's no guarantee that one works better than another. You do need to have something moving very quickly, though. So, so whether it's the video or your text changes fast, something needs to be moving very, very quickly. Within that first 3 seconds, something's got to grab their attention. The easiest thing to do is a still image and then just changing text. Um, I have one author, like the backgrounds we use for her videos, and she actually makes them herself for Reels and TikTok. They're sometimes they're just like panning shots of libraries. Sometimes they're just panning shots of cityscapes. She reads contemporary romance, and then there's just text over top from dialogue from the books. Usually, that's changing on top of the video. But you don't have to do that. You can always just do straight text over a still image. It's one of the easiest things to do. Sometimes it's just the book laying there on a table with the camera zooming in, or just page flipping through the book while text is over top. That one I don't like quite as much personally, because I find it a little bit hard to read text on the video, even if it's got good borders and everything. Well, there's also text flipping behind, but I seem to be in the minority there. Most people seem to be okay with that. So it can be a lot of different things. Dun, dun, dun. Jill says, I still have a lot of luck with detailed targeting, Tim. I wouldn't go that far all in with AI on Facebook ads. And like I said, what Jill does is more niche. So that makes a ton of sense that she would use detailed targeting. And you can still use detailed targeting on Advantage Plus audiences. There's, I mean, maybe I should do some show and tell here, actually. Say what? I can't hear you fully. I don't, because I'm typically reading these things quite far behind. I don't know what it was I said 7 minutes ago that you couldn't hear. Um, unless you're just talking about your campaign. Uh, 5051. Sometimes with low context comments, I don't know what that's in reference to. $5 a day. $5 a day. Oh, let me break out the math. We're talking about a lead ad here. I'm trying to get like 20 conversions a day. 5 divided by 0.3. It's going to get you 16 conversions a day. So on a good day, that should be enough to keep you out of learning. It generally is. I'm actually kind of surprised that you would have gone back into learning at $5 a day. $3 a day and 30 cents per conversion. I could see that, but I don't think I would fret about it too much. Um, oh, AA Amazon attribution. Okay. So let me go back to your comment. I haven't run a video ad for a while. My AA was low on them, but I like the idea of premium image ads. Also remember, if your attribution data is giving you half the page reads on a real ad, but the cost per click's also half, then you're actually performing the same. I knew AA should be something that makes sense. Kate says, I'm testing Advantage Plus audiences against original with just women in the US, 25 to 64. Dun, dun, dun. Test the Advantage Plus audience against targeted original ones, and the targeted one died after 4 days. Yeah, the one with targeted too, like, is they might not have the same longevity because they're trapped within a smaller base audience. You could like try bringing up to like 7 or 8 and see if that keeps you out of learning phase. All right, time for show and tell. Dun, 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 give me 2 shakes of a lamb's leg here. I just need to organize my windows so I can still see comments while I'm in the ad manager. Now Facebook's being slow. Come on, Facebook, you can do it. You can load. I have faith in you. Examples and testing. Perfect. So every app has like a different icon for share screen, and sometimes it gets really hard to find what's what. Okay. And sorry, I just need to find the one that sticks me down here. Perfect. That way everything's all embiggered. All right, so we're going to go to a new traffic campaign here, and we'll take a look at some of the options. So and the reason why I'm kind of just being a little bit, I want to be really specific about this, is a lot of times people speak very generically when they're saying like, I did this thing with my ads, you should try it too, or I recommend this thing. But what they said and what we interpret that as could be different things. And part of that is because Facebook uses the word advantage for everything. So it gets like kind of tricky to tell what's what. Um, So of course, we've got the idea of the Advantage Plus audience. On a traffic ad, you can tell if you're using an Advantage Plus audience because you've got two separate boxes. You've got your main country location. You have a base minimum age that you could choose, and this could be for things like you're advertising alcohol in the United States, and people have to be over 21 for that. And you absolutely cannot show alcohol ads under 21. Like this is a hard and fast rule. And then down here, we can put in audience suggestions, and these are squishy. Facebook may or may not listen to this particular thing. This is, and everything in this box is a suggestion. And this is a problem with some genres and not a problem with others. For example, romance definitely has a much stronger female audience than male audience. So showing romance ads to men doesn't work so well. Um, where if you're doing fantasy, sci-fi, thriller, well, it's like 45, 55 women um, being the 55% for pretty much all of those genres. So showing those ads to both genres isn't the end of the world. It may not be optimal, but it's not the end of the world. So you can see right there how some genres might do better than others with different audience types. Other things, and some things are getting better. Like it used to be that like if you ran a romance ad and it was clearly a romance ad, right? But there was an attractive woman for the image, which usually isn't something people use for romance ads. Usually it's the guy. Well, a lot of men might click on it because it's an attractive woman, and then Facebook gets trained wrong. The AIs are better now, being like, oh, this is a romance ad. I'm not going to start with men. I'm going to start with women, and they tend to fall off the rails a little bit less than they used to. But but when you're using the Advantage Plus audience, Facebook is constantly sort of like looking for a big audience. It's showing this ad to a lot of people. The AI is making decisions about who responded and who it might want to serve the ad to, and they can shift under you. They can change audiences, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. As their platform's improving, because it was garbage back in June of last year, it's significantly better now. As that platform's improving, bad shifts are happening less and good shifts are happening more. So there that is nice, but there are still shifts. And of course, you can even if you're using Advantage Plus, you can still get Facebook somewhere to start, like science fiction. So I could still say science fiction. Um, I hope I spelt it right. Science fiction movies, and then like narrow that by like novels or something like that, right? Like that's all still entirely possible. And so you still can give, it jumps around a whole bunch, which is super obnoxious though. Like the screen is like constantly like moving on you. Um, so you still can do this even using the Advantage Plus system. If I switch back to original audience options, um, and they've got a lot of dark patterns now that are trying to keep you from doing that. Because you say like, oh, I click switch back to original options, I click continue, you change nothing because the default option is uh, stay in current step. They do have options for value rules now, which I've talked about in the past, and you can use those to like say limit men on an ad like this, or you can choose further limit the reach of your ads, which is such a dark pattern, and that switches you back to the original audience stuff, which on traffic ads appears as one box. On sales ads, by the way, Advantage Plus is also in one box now, so you kind of have to pay attention to the reading. On traffic, you can really tell when you're Advantage Plus because you get this giant section here. It's like, hey, you could be using Advantage Plus. Wouldn't that be sexier? Um, and now everything's all in one spot, and we don't have like recommended minimum age and that sort of thing. We have actual selections for everything. But you'll notice the detailed targeting always says Advantage Plus, and that changed in January of 2023. There used to be a checkbox for this, and in January 2023, Facebook checked that checkbox for everybody forever. And of course, we can see here we may deliver ads beyond your audience for eligible ad objectives if it's likely to improve performance. But remember, performance on a traffic ad is defined by our performance goal, which is maximize number of link clicks. Facebook does not have visibility into, nor does it care if we get any conversions. So super worth noting um, that that while you get more control over using the original audience section selection, the fact that we have Advantage Plus detailed targeting means that we, to a certain extent, never really have full control over our ads. We have to assume with any ad that Facebook will eventually show it to whoever they want to, with the exception that if you change back to original audience, you are at least consistently restricting to a gender and an age. Like you on original audience, you do have that. that you can set clearly. And of course, on all of them, you can set country. You are able to set the country that your ad should be going to. All right, let me catch up on comments here now because I actually didn't really look at comments while I was doing that. Okay. Ba-da-ba-ba. Oh, not that many. So hopefully that answered the questions you had there, Eric. That made sense. Um, and you can kind of see how like we have like 4 layers of ad, right? I could run an Advantage Plus audience entirely, wide, or with detailed targeting. And I could run an original further limit further limit the reach of your ads audience with wide or detailed targeting. But, detailed targeting under both scenarios is still basically a suggestion. The only thing you really guarantee by switching back to the original audience sections anymore is age range and gender. Whereas with Advantage Plus audiences, even that is a suggestion. Um, Dennis says it's weird with certain ads and certain series I run when it comes to paperback sales. What do you think we can do to increase our paperback sales? Um, that's a super broad question. Um, like one angle is that paperback sales do better for Christmas. They don't do as well, obviously, um, uh, at other times. They just always do better at Christmas. So a lot of times people will see like these. I've seen like this nice growth in paperback sales through Q4 of a year, and then they taper off in January, and then people might flail a bit trying to get additional paperback sales. So I think one thing to keep in mind is take a breather in January. Don't stress too much if your paperback sales drop, and then start working on strategy to get them going from there, which I think is what you're asking. Um, so sort of just making more mention of the fact that you have paperbacks available in various places when you're advertising is one step. Um, Certain genres like thrillers do really well with large print paperbacks as well. Um, Libraries like large print paperbacks. So that works too. Getting your ebooks into libraries using draft to digital, which is something that you can now and Publish Drive and a few other places, which we're now allowed to do. Even if our books are still in KU, we can put them into libraries. That can actually help get paperback sales going too, right? Because libraries might actually grab paperbacks of your books if the ebooks do well. And then you get your reach out to your fans like, hey, ask your local library to stock my book on overdrive so that maybe they'll actually get it. So that can be a strategy to help paperback sales. Paperback sales are still, easiest from an author perspective at in-person events. And you don't have to go to like, you know, big author signing events on the other side of the country to move a lot of paperbacks. Most of us have a decent number of small craft shows and stuff like that, or small comic cons happening around us. And you can get booths at those and sell your paperbacks there too, which can be good. If you can drive to the place that you're selling at, um, that's far better than you have to fly there and ship things and whatnot, because flying and shipping are going to eat all your profits. So, depending on where you live, you may or may not have a lot of these. Like around Boston, there was like 2 or 3 every weekend you could have gone, or the proverbial you could have gone to. Here where we live now, there's not nearly as many, but there's still like, every month or so, there's still something going on within easy driving range. Um, so there's that. And I actually think doing in-person sales, even if you don't sell a lot, is still really good for practicing your pitches, because you can like watch people as you pitch different elements of your books, and then you can see their eyes widen or narrow or posture change, and you can use those learnings in your online ads to talk about certain things to certain audiences. You're like, oh, when I talk to young people, they're interested in these things. When I talk to older people, this is what helps make the sale in person. You can learn all of this like right in front of humans, take notes, and then use that in your ad copy and how you pitch your books, what you talk about to different audiences with your Facebook ads. So that's a byproduct of doing in-person sales. And I think the other big thing, of course, is Kickstarter. Um, if you want to really dip your toe into making cool paperback books and moving a lot of them, Kickstarter is one of the easiest ways to go, because it's a limited time engagement, and you can learn like, hey, I like selling print books, but I don't like shipping print books. Therefore, I don't want to do my own store with signed copies. Or, wow, I actually really loved all this. I love packaging the books and sending them and putting little notes. It gives me like a huge lift. And so, I want to fire up a Shopify store, and now I want to start running ads to print books on Shopify. Like, there's a lot of different ways that can track. And I think ultimately the best way to move a lot of print books and make a good margin is doing it um, directly yourself. Whether that's signed copies that you ship or having a store and then you just drop ship things from Amazon to people that buy them, which can get tedious after a while. Um, Although certainly less effort than shipping them yourselves is the ultimate way to do it. Because we have to remember when we sell books on Amazon, some people kind of mistake how the Amazon 60% on print works. Like when they take 60% of the print royalties and we get 40% of print royalties. Is that how it works? Or they 40? No, we get 60, they get 40. I'm sorry. Um, it's not off the top. It's not from the gross that we get 60%. Um, we pay the printing cost and then they take 40% of the rest. So let's say you've got a book for $15 um, and it's $5 to print. So that comes off the top and then you get 60% of what's left, which is now I'm kind of remember. Have I got this wrong? Do we only get 40%? Anyway, it's less than you'd think, is what it kind of works out to a lot. I think we get 40%. Someone correct me on this if I'm wrong. Um, so so you do have to price your books higher than you might think sometimes to make as much money as you'd like to off of them. And that can sometimes can make it a little bit harder to sell them. But also do remember that if you're doing direct sales, well, now you don't have Amazon taking that big chunk anymore. You pay the Okay, we get 60? Okay. I was right the first time. It feels like 40 a lot of the time is what it is. So if you're doing your books at say $12, because you're like, "Oh, I'm trying to be cheap," or not cheap, but I'm trying to be cheap for my readers. So you sell your books at $12, cost $5 to print. Now we're talking $7 and 7 times point 0.6 is $4.20. Um, so that is worth considering that we make a little bit less money than we think. When I first got into it, I thought we got 60% right off the top. Um, and no, that was not the case, which I can understand why Amazon does it the way they do it because they don't want to get completely shafted on the printing costs. That being said, it allows us to do bundles on our websites for a lot less money. And a lot of times when people try to do bundles on their websites, they're really thinking like, okay, I sell these books on Amazon for 15 bucks a pop. These are signed copies, so I think they're worth a bit more. They're worth 20 bucks a pop. And I'm doing three of them in this bundle or something like that. Therefore, these should be $60 for three books. And that's like not unreasonable. Um, and you're actually going to make like 15 bucks profit per book, which is pretty awesome. But you want to like sell a lot of them and make more money in volume. You could still, if you sold them for 40 bucks, you'd still be making 25 in profit. So I'm of the opinion that if you really want to build a business and get a lot of books in people's hands, you can do some discounts like that and still be making a lot of money. I think people that try to like look at all of the books individually and try to make a certain percentage on each book versus creating a more enticing bundle, um, and selling the bundle at a discounted price, knowing that you're going to make more money by selling more. I think that's something to keep in mind, and that I think a lot of people kind of overlook in this. 2.5 times the printing cost. I do 3 times the printing cost. I go for a little bit more than that, Monique. Um, just because I don't know. I don't know why. Oh, I know why. Because at 2.5 times, if I sell a print book, I actually don't make as much money as when I sell an ebook because I price my ebooks higher as well. So I like my print books to make me as much money as selling an ebook, in profit wise. So basically, I look at it as like whenever someone gets my book, I make a certain amount of money regardless of the medium they get it in. Um, which I don't know. I guess some people might disagree with that. They might say that print books have other costs, therefore the margin should be lower. Um, Feels like a very trad pub sort of thing to say, doesn't it? Anywho, that's kind of my thoughts on print. I do think print books have to be gorgeous these days, and I'm thinking about that a lot right now because I've just kicked off the pre-launch phase for Kickstarter on Monday, and I'm really torn about how I want to do the covers. Do I do sort of the kind of cover you'd expect a sci-fi book to have, or do I do something entirely different that you never see on sci-fi books, a whole new concept that is going to be super cool and gorgeous? And it's like, which one works better. Of course, Kickstarters are great for that because you're not having to do mass appeal. You're trying to hit like a specific audience. And so what works on Kickstarter for like a cool cover may not work for mass appeal. But now I'm thinking, I actually had this idea today of doing two covers. Every book has two covers. There's the unconventional cover on the outside, which is basically going to look like a sci-fi shipping container. And then you open it, and then there's the regular cover one layer down, which I think would be kind of cool because it's almost like you've opened the shipping container and there's the book inside the shipping container, right? Like that's actually kind of cool. Anyway, um, it is neat to like things like Kickstarter, or if you're big enough, some authors do special editions right in their websites, like special sprayed edge, gorgeous embossed covers and that sort of thing, just right on their website for like $80 a pop, and can do it. But it is fun and it is nice. I get carried away with the art a lot. I'm like, I want all of the art for my books, and then more of my profits get chewed up in making cool art that for me than actually is strictly necessary for the Kickstarter. But oh, that other thing about print is Ingram Spark has put in some rules, and forgive me, I don't remember the details about them because I didn't investigate them in great detail. But basically, they've put in some new rules that basically bone shop small indie store owners even more. Has to do with returns and profits and stuff like that. But it's making indie booksellers a lot less excited to sell things from Ingram Spark unless they're really certain those things will sell. So a lot of indie bookstores are really looking for ways to work directly with authors. So um, looking for those posts online. A lot of indie bookstores are actually saying like, "Hey, authors, if who would like to sell direct, let me know, and I'll reach out." So look for those kinds of posts. I've been seeing them a lot on Threads. You can find them there, and then having a wholesale order form on your website can be a super cool thing too. So you got like this wholesale section up there, and then if anyone says like, "Yeah, I might be interested," I was like, "Cool, here's a link to my wholesale form." Maybe they use it, maybe they work with you directly, but it's still sort of like a little subtle bit of advertising saying that, hey, you'll do wholesale book sales for bookstores. And then what you ultimately really what you're going to do for most people is you're going to order author copies on off Amazon, just drop ship them to the bookstore. And the neat thing too is because for most of us, we're paying so little for author copies on Amazon that even if the bookstore doesn't sell them all, you don't have to get them shipped back to you if it's going to be too expensive, right? You can just be like, don't worry about it. Just rip the covers off and throw them in the trash or something like that. Yeah, exactly, Kate. There, yeah, all over sales. Wait, Kate. Rebecca says I made my first direct wholesale through my form yesterday. Are you serious? That's awesome. Congrats, Rebecca. Did you have to push hard to do that? Did someone just find it on their own? I'm kind of curious about the deets on that. Um, oh, and Kate says I commissioned artwork for the first time. I'm so excited to get it. Yeah, it's super cool. Oh, cool. You got 3 last year, Monique. Good call. See, I've seen people with them. I've not done it yet, and I haven't heard too much about how well they're working, but I think it's super cool, right? Like that's it feels like free money, to be honest, in a way. Speaking of custom, actually, I'm gonna show you guys something pretty cool. I don't know if any of my readers probably won't be around, so I don't have to worry about them seeing it. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry, I'm having to look around my microphone here. Remove share screen. I'm going to share Discord, which is always scary, right? It's like, okay, don't show the wrong thing. Who knows what could be in Discord? People could say anything. So this is like a super early sketch from my cover artist for the character art. He's got the women looking a little bit too anime, which I don't think is going to be there in the final because he's done other art for me and he's never done that before. But I'm going to make sure that he doesn't give them kind of like these wide-eyed anime faces. But like these two sketches are pretty neat. And then the ship in the background, he he actually did a rendering of that first so that he can use it. And this is so cool, right? Because now I have this cool rendering of this ship that I can use as like additional content in Kickstarter. Which I love. I love stuff like that. And then it'd be like an additional add-on that people can get. They could get like a picture with schematics of the ship or something like that. So yeah, commissioned artwork is just so much fun. It's like my favorite thing in the world. Um, so I like that. It could be. I've worked on a number of projects with him, both book and also video game. And I didn't get like a big anime vibe from stuff he's done in the past, but I haven't seen This will actually be the first time I've seen first draft character art of his. Everything that he's done for me personally. No, actually, he has done some that didn't have that look. Although women always do. I got one on my wall right now that I'm looking at. They do have slightly Disney eyes, Disney princess eyes going on. So, but I want this one to look more gritty. So I got to make sure that he's got the characters looking gritty. But I love getting concept art and early art from artists. Also, because something that I do is I create art books periodically that contain, for people that buy ebooks, they can just buy the art book, which has full print versions of all the covers in them, so they can like flip through and see all the color covers in full print, or for sorry, not full print, full color print. And then also I do like behind the scenes from photo shoots and early artist concepts and stuff like that. So getting stuff like this is really cool because I can now it's all fodder for an art book that has artist concepts and stuff in there, which is like another thing you can do with all the material you get when you start doing like commissioned art and stuff like that. Eric says, I've been having a lot of fun just coming up with my new painting mock-ups from main Cosmic Horror series. That's cool too. Like, are you like you're painting them, Eric, or I want more? Yes, yeah, I could use them for special editions. Um, who knows what, right? Like all sorts of things. So, which I've definitely done in the past too. Um, I've actually got another Kickstarter coming up this year because it's the 10th anniversary of one of my books, and it's also the 20th anniversary of me creating the Aeon 14 universe I write in. So I'm got some big ideas for that too. Eric, yes, I am painting them. Oh, that's super cool, Eric. I love that. Are you gonna be doing the finals as well? Um, or are you just gonna do the concepts and have someone else do the finals? I'm just sort of I don't know much about your, like, your skill level and everything, like, where you feel your skill levels at, so I'm kinda curious what your plan is. If you're doing the whole thing yourself, though, that's super awesome. "Hey, Yasmin, how you doing?" So, me and my voice are feeling a little bit my voice is feeling a little bit done, but, I feel like we've kind of talked about a ton of things today, um, and I guess one of the key takeaways I think people should have in mind is, you know, you probably should be running video ads, and if you're doing them well and you're really hitting your audience well, they should be well under 10 cents per click at this time of year. Around like say Thanksgiving, they won't be, but at this time of year, they should be like under 10 cents per click. And if you have the budget for it, this is a great time to sort of like flood the market with awareness of your product at a really low price with these video ads. And good video ads should still convert at like 5 to 7 pages read per click, which is great as well. So you can get a lot that way. Eric, yes, I'm a trained illustrator. I sometimes work with artists. I did my Cthulhu Grimoire cover and Suliar's Enigma once. Oh, that's super cool. Do you do what other kinds of art do you do other than just horror, Eric? Tell me more. I'm always interested in people that do cool art. In part because I'm thinking about a comic book series for my books too. So I've always got my eyes peeled for that. Um, it was caught by when you said illustrator. That was the word that caught my attention. It made me think comic book. Um, if that's a thing you're into. Um, I think now I've done a few Kickstarters and I'm going to do like two more this year. Jill's doing one. I'm like, our comic book Kickstarter just needs to be happening very shortly. Like how have we gone this long without doing a comic book Kickstarter? I actually almost did one during pandemic, but everybody was doing a comic book Kickstarter during pandemic, and it was pretty hard to find an illustrator who was available. Dark fantasy, anime style comic art. I've been working on cyberpunk. Oh, I might reach out at some point, Eric. That's definitely intriguing. All right, but I've got to eat so I can put food in my body before my next call. So it has been fabulous chatting with all of you guys today. Maybe next week I'll actually be in the new office. I wasn't there this week because a couple of things haven't come yet, like the mic stands and so on that I'm going to be using over there. So soon, TM I'll be in the other office. And actually, I've got like a processor here because the computer I built for Jill's office after moving across the continent is flaky. So I've got to rebuild Jill's computer too, and then we might both be doing videos from the new office, which is we're pretty stoked about. It has been, as always, fabulous chatting with you folks. Hope you have a great day, a fabulous weekend. Don't be too cold if you're living south of the equator. Hope you're not too hot, and I'll see you next week. Ciao.